Lady Rhea Royce may have only gotten 30 seconds of camera time before she was killed off, but those were some impactful 30 seconds. I wouldn't go as far as to call this character a fan favorite, but House of the Dragon added in more characterization than I would have expected. The books only tell us that Prince Daemon Targaryen's first wife, that he always referred to as the Bronze Bitch, died soon after falling off her horse, 18 long years into their marriage. These kids get married young in this primitive world. They spent the majority of their marriage estranged, living in different kingdoms. Daemon had the best form of transportation in this story, his partner Caraxes, but had zero interest in spending time with Rhea in the Vale, who he seemingly hated, so obviously not his bride of choice. Prince Daemon found the Vale of Arryn boring. In the Vale, the men fuck sheep, he wrote. You cannot fault them. Their sheep are prettier than their women, and soon developed a mislike of his lady wife, whom he called my bronze bitch, after the runic bronze armor worn by the lords of House Royce. Daemon's wild quote from the books even made it to air. The Royces are a pretty big deal in the Vale. Yes, they're under the Arryns who rule over this mountainous kingdom, but the Royce family is just under them, still holding a significant amount of power and influence stemming back from the time they were called the Bronze Kings in the Vale. House Royce originate from the First Men, so they were the top dogs thousands of years before the Arryns. Unfortunately for them, the Arryns knew how to work steel, outperforming their bronze in battle. And now the Royces rule over two separate castles in the Vale. Their old home, Runestone, right here, and the one the Arryns let them look over, called the Gates of the Moon. Game of Thrones had to cut a lot of House Royce content, so some might not recognize this house. But this dummy over here was a Royce, and his Lord Father, who was kind of a badass in his own right, possesses the family's iconic bronze armor, created in the time they were kings, containing ancient runes on it that supposedly protect the wearer from harm. Their iconic bronze armor with the superstitious ruins and the Royce's thematic reference to bronze is how the genius Daemon came up with this epithet. Rhea was the heir to Runestone at the time of the betrothal. That's why Daemon left his exciting life in the most populous city, King's Landing, behind, to go to Runestone. Surrounded only by small villages, and you guessed it, farms in the mountain valleys. Can you really imagine the rogue prince spending his days in the Vale? The few years he spent there must have been really miserable for him as a teen. But it wouldn't be long before Rhea ruled all of House Royce. It was his grandmother who arranged this match for Daemon. The good Queen Alysanne handled a lot of betrothals during her long stay as queen. A Targaryen prince to House Royce may not sound like the best match, but looking deeper into the family's situation during this era, Queen Alysanne did a damn good job. She just didn't account for her grandson being 69% insane. Alysanne recognized the unlikelihood of Daemon inheriting the Iron Throne, with other males like his father and brother being ahead in line, so gave Daemon the opportunity to be Lord of Runestone. Rhea Royce was technically the heir, but she's a female in a sexist setting, where women rarely have much power. But all this wasn't enough for Daemon. House of the Dragon perfectly created a character for Rhea Royce. The lady we saw on screen would never let the dangerous Daemon have control over her family and their land. She seems way too strong-willed for any of that. As for a reason for no children between the two during their 18-year marriage, Rhea passively-aggressively hints at his inability to perform his duties. This may be why he's going around calling a beautiful character ugly. His pride was deflated around her. After 6 years, Daemon found the perfect opportunity to leave Runestone and his bronze bitch. Viserys was crowned king in 103 AC, after the old king's health finally failed him. Upon the ascension of his brother to the Iron Throne, the prince petitioned to have his marriage set aside. Viserys denied the request, but did allow Daemon to return to court. Daemon even got restless at court, so it was more of a him problem than with Rhea. He found someone that fit his lifestyle a little better in King's Landing, a dancer from Lys named Mysaria. Who knows if Daemon is capable of love, but Mysaria was his paramour while in Viserys' court. Rhea was probably happy he was far away from her and Runestone. Even the loving Viserys wanted Daemon out of his hair after his little brother was heard calling the king's dead baby heir for a day. Lord of Runestone or commander of the City Watch, it didn't matter if there was more the world had to offer. And the biggest prize was the Iron Throne, the most powerful position in the world. King Viserys kicked Daemon out of King's Landing for celebrating the death of his own nephew, because that made Daemon heir again, until Viserys had another son. To make sure Daemon would never sit on the Iron Throne, Rhaenyra was named the king's heir. This also meant the Bronze Bitch would never be a Bronze Queen. Daemon didn't return to the Vale after being removed from court. He flew to his family's nearby island, Dragonstone, with Mysaria. He even impregnated her in the books. Well, maybe. House of the Dragon's adaptation tells us he faked a whole pregnancy just to get his brother's attention. He claimed he would give his bastard a dragon egg, and that's when the king had to step in and put his brother down. His punishment for his crime of stealing one of the crown's dragon eggs was to return to his lady wife and perform his duties as her husband. You can't just simply be handing out powerful weapons to bastards, who are generally seen as threats to the main family. Rhea's performance insults towards Daemon in House the Dragon may have been based in reality because we see this issue plague Daemon with Mysaria as well, so no kids with his paramour either. He stayed in the Vale from 105 AC to 106 AC, then he was off to the Stepstones with the Sea Snake to play war. Rhea saved again. Daemon spent the better half of a decade fighting off pirates on the Stepstones, while Rhea ruled Dragonstone alone. In 115 AC, Daemon received word of an incident in the Vale. This is where House the Dragon and the lore books differ in accounts of what exactly happened. Daemon was shown murdering his wife in the show by causing her to fall off her horse and then finishing her off with a rock. The books are purposely vague with a lot of parts of the story recounting this era, but there was no way Daemon could have been involved in her death in the books. He was still on the Stepstones when the accident happened. While out flying her hawk, a common pastime in medieval settings, Rhea fell off her horse and severely injured her head when she landed on a rock. This isn't when she died though. In a badly concussed state, she remained bedridden for 9 days. If Daemon had someone attempt to assassinate her, she would have said something in those 9 days. The strong-willed Rhea thought she was good enough to get out of bed, but then almost immediately collapsed and died. The show's version makes Daemon out to be more villainous, but in both cases, he sought after her seat as head of House Royce. In the show, before he could even make any arguments for Runestone, a member of House Royce makes it known Daemon killed the head of the family. The Royce Knight says, "In the Vale, men are made to answer for their crimes, even Targaryens." But Daemon just brushes the accusations away, calling him a bronze cunt. Daemon had plans to bring up his inheritance to Lady Jane Eyre, the ruler of the Vale during this era, but got distracted by Laena Velaryon, with him now being single. In the books, he does in fact fly to Lady Jane Eyre from the Stepstones. He's first rejected by House Royce, and then Lady Jane herself, who has a very interesting connection to House Targaryen. If you guys remember, King Viserys' first wife was an Arryn, even though her Targaryen traits kind of overpowered her appearance. Aemma Arryn is likely Lady Jane's aunt. Jane wouldn't have forgotten the heir for a day remarks that shook King's Landing. She tells Daemon that he is not welcome in the Vale, and later says that he treated Rhea most cruelly. Jane doesn't go into detail about his cruelty, but he wasn't afraid to put his hands on the most powerful woman in the realm. He could have done the same to Rhea. Abandoning your wife and finding yourself a paramour is pretty bad too. House of Dragon's pacing wasn't always the smoothest, so I wasn't even sure they were going to include Rhea. Glad the bronze bitch made it in. Costume designers even gave her some cool armor. Her death ends Daemon's relationship with House Runestone, and the seat passed down to her nephew or cousin or whatever. If House of the Dragon is interested in expanding the lore, Lady Jane is the perfect character to develop. Rhaenyra and the Blacks will need her support in Season 2. She has blood ties with Rhaenyra, but the distaste for Daemon should be there, which should be fun to see on screen. I've been making some notes on moments from the books that didn't make the cut for House of the Dragon, like Daemon petitioning for Runestone. That video should be out in a week, so I'll see you guys who are subscribed then. Thanks for watching this one.